And now let's talk about regression to cause, Mike. So
Okay.
what the heck is regression to cause? And if you're helping somebody fix a problem, when do you need to do it? And is it even always necessary? And why are some people
Excellent.
thinking,
Okay. First of all, let's say regression to cause. I had a very interesting discussion with our good friend Anthony Jacquin about this a number of years ago when we brought him and his father, Freddie Jacquin, to Toronto. And, it's as though some people seem to think that you're actually putting the person through time, like a time machine.
Yeah.
And in reality, they're not regressing to anything. And Anthony and I are in agreement on that. What's happening is you're getting a disrupted ego state. You're bringing it to the fore, and you're having them replay the event that caused the problem while making different shifts in it. So you're just rewriting an event. You're not actually regressing anybody.
I think this is the first time I'm hearing you describe it as actually an ego state intervention.
It's always an ego state intervention.
That is interesting.
Always. And who agreed with me?
I think Gordon
Emerson agreed. He did agree with me.
And
so
he's pretty smart.
He's a smart man, and that.
Yeah.
So some believe regression is always necessary, but is it? No, it isn't. There's entire psychotheologies built around this idea that every problem has this root in the past. It's this bullet in the wound, and unless you open the wound and take the bullet out, it will never completely heal. Now, let's just say a lot of things are like that. I've dealt with all kinds of them with friends and people who were my clients at one point, but it's not every problem. For example, if someone has a fear of flying, which is an anxiety, all of these anxieties are future events. They're afraid of the next time getting on that plane, what will happen. It may have a root in the past. There may be an event. Yeah, hiccup. There may be an event to clear, but there may not. There may be nothing at all there. It doesn't mean you have to start looking for one. Or now we're back to the whole thing of looking for trauma where it doesn't exist.
Yes.
So
exactly, yes. And I will also say this. There are some schools out there, I'm not going to name any names, but there are some that believe you must every single time regress to cause. And if you do not, then you're not doing good quality work and you aren't helping people.
Right.
And so they're very limited in their thinking. And we think this is incorrect.
Well, it is incorrect. And the problem with all of that is you get some hypnosis groups, and I'm not naming any specific one either, but I can think of a few of them off the top of my head, who basically frame hypnotherapy according to their own terms and their own terminology. So they invent their own thing like, the 6-window technique, and which I'm making up. And then they say, you make sure that your therapist is trained in 6 windows or they don't know what they're doing. Well, that's an arbitrary distinction. I can say, unless your therapist is trained in mindscaping by me, then they don't have a clue what they're doing. That's equally ridiculous. It's equally ridiculous. So let's just look at this. Many phobias, you don't need regression at all. How many phobias you can clear by just having the person relax, do the rewind technique on the first time they can remember, the worst time, the most recent, and the hypothetical next, which would future pace it.
Most.
I think with the ones I've worked on, I'd say it's more than 80%.
Yeah.
Pareto is still raising his ugly head, but there you go. But yeah, all kinds of things can be treated without regression. It's just not true that it's always required. In fact, Bernheim and Lebo in the late 1800s, everything they did was direct suggestion and hypnosis, with both of them being medical doctors, Bernheim being a professor of neurology. They treated physical disorders as well with direct suggestion and didn't regress anybody. That was a new thing that had really started to come in after World War I, when they started to massively de-traumatize soldiers who had PTSD, shell shock, battle fatigue, whatever you called it back then.
Right.
But until then, people were getting pretty good results without it. Now, here's a pro tip, and I like using that term.
Yeah.
If you're a hypnotist, it's not the regression that makes it work. It's clearing the ISE, the initial sensitizing event, clearing that. So however you clear it, whether or not you regress the person, you'll get the same result. The phobia, the problem, whatever will disappear.
So for those who care so much about this.
Okay, so we have an ISE,
initial sensitizing event.
And an activating event, the AE. And there's also, if you really want to be nitpicking, subsequent sensitizing events. So I worked with a client, and years ago, she was terrified of spiders. She said she remembered it was her brother put a rubber spider down her top. She freaked out, and she said she knows that's when it started. When this happened, she was about 11 or 12. That's too late for most phobias, which occur in the imprint phase before age 7 and usually before age 4.
So you suspected
I thought that's probably the activating event, which you can tell. Because if you clear it through whatever means, timelines, hypnosis, whatever, it won't go away. It may lessen, but that's it. So you have to take the person back and find if there was an earlier one. And there was. The initial sensitizing event is often seemingly unrelated to the activating event. For example, it wasn't even a spider. She was at a cabin. There was a centipede in her bed. The centipede scared her. She didn't get a phobia. That became the platform that the phobia builds on. So when her brother puts the spider down her top, it builds on this platform. Bingo, all of a sudden she's got a phobia.
Now, did you use regression to get there?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I really can't. I just remember I can make up the answer though. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. We cleared it. Yes, I did. I don't know. I can't remember. But the key is you have to clear the initial sensitizing event, not just the activating event.
Right.
The wonder of it though is if you clear the initial sensitizing event using regression to cause, whatever method you're using, then the activating events will often just clear and fall apart on their own. You don't have to get to every single event.
Okay. So do you want to talk about, some people are going to ask, if you use something like the somatic bridge or the affect bridge, is that regression? Or it's so-called regression. Yeah. But again, what you're doing is the affect bridge goes back to Freud when he found that when the person could rationally recall what the cause was of the symptom they're exhibiting or whatever, if they could follow the emotions back to the first time they had it, the affect is the emotions, AFFECT, and they can run that first event with the perspective of an adult human, whatever, that will release the charge. It'll be gone. Or it might be something like a nervous tic or gagging at the dentist. You follow those back, the symptoms back. When was the first time you had this symptom? So that's the somatic bridge instead. Either one gets you to the first event, which you can now clear through various methods. You can run it backwards. You can have the person dissociate. You can have them rewrite it and drop it into their timeline. There's a million ways, well, not a million, but there's a lot of ways of doing it. And remember, when you've cleared it, you'll know because the subject will not be able to get those negative feelings back. And that's the gauge. You don't want them saying it's better. No, you want them saying it's gone. It's insane. Yeah. And remember too, many NLP techniques have built-in hypnosis. Right.
So just running timeline, which comes out of NLP, it was Bandler. Ted James created timeline therapy, which is a great exposition of it. Brilliant stuff. But all of these, the person will go into hypnotic states just running the process.
Awesome.
So you had mentioned that thing. Is it day or night? Let's just fly through those.
Oh, right. Yeah. You want to talk about that?
One of the keys to keep the subject associated in the regression, you have to, if you're abreacting the negative emotions, having them feel them and clear them, you're going to do very general things without being specific. You know, is your father there? Is he angry? No. You're going to ask the questions. Is it day or night? Yeah. Are you alone or with someone else? Are you indoors or outdoors?
How old are you?
Yeah. What age do you feel? All of these things, the person will answer very quickly without thinking. That will put them right in the event and enable them to stay there because you must have the Vated ego state executive in order to discharge the fear, anger, sadness, trauma.
Yeah, you're asking specific questions, things like how old do you feel, that's open-ended in a sense, or they're fairly digital. Is it daytime or nighttime? Are you inside or outside? Are you with anyone or alone?
Right.
Not planting anything, because those are all the...
And you're saying answer immediately. That's the key. Right. Now, the key, too, is don't let the subject turn it into hypermnesia by dissociating. Hypermnesia is when you have an enhanced memory, but you want them associated into it if you're going to be abreacting. Now, of course, timeline will do this and will release the negative emotions externally, and it is unique for that. But often, only one ego state will hold the negative emotions that need to be cleared. And when you heal that one Vated ego state, and as much as I sort of kid around a bit about Charles Tebbett's S&J, even though that is the case, and I won't tell anyone unless you ask me in person what I mean, but he was excellent at what he did. He did the work that came from Gil Boyne, but you'll see in the transcripts, he shifts very easily between regression and parts work, just back and forth. And you have to do that. You're always doing parts work anyway.
Right, which is also the same as ego state work.
Absolutely, which is also the same as resource state work.
Right, there you
Right.
go.
Now, anxieties often have no ISE. We said that earlier, but if there is one, you're going to have to clear it. When you clear it, then the future will be much, much brighter for the person. And let's just add these final points. Do very thorough work if you're doing this stuff, and check it by future pacing. You must check it. So if the person is terrified of swimming or swimming pools, and you clear all this and you clear the event when they fell off the air mattress out in the lake and thought they were drowning, which is what happened to me. But if you clear that and then you say, so tomorrow, when you're on the beach and you start walking out in the water, or you decide to go to your friend's house and they have the swimming pool, what will happen? Now I'm calibrating, and the person's going to say, I'll get in the pool. I know how to swim. I'll be fine. Perfect. It's done. But if the person goes, I guess I'll probably feel a bit better. No. You want to clear things and not reduce them. And finally, if you're clearing any of these past events, what? That's horrible. I've forgotten it again. Why do you bring it back? Now I'm going to have to go back to cause and get very clear. Finally, we prefer using idiomotor work, the work of Leslie Cron, David Cheek, and others, because it doesn't cause the severe abreaction. Some people want abreaction. Their model of the world says they have to cry and scream to get it out, like a primal scream or something. We don't believe that's the case. So we can set up finger signals, take them back to the event, clear it unconsciously multiple times, then have it come to conscious awareness. And there's very little stress, very little pain, and it works every bit as well. And you can check your work with the finger signals too.
So in conclusion on regression to cause, you can do it without introducing a lot of discomfort for the other person.
Right.
You don't have to take them back and fully associate them into this childhood state and ask them all kinds of questions and do informed child.
Right.
Bring them back
It's helpful a lot of the time, but you don't always need it.
There are many ways to do it, and you can simply follow a bridge back to that first time, have conscious awareness of it, and then run something like Phasphobia Cure on a Phobia, for example. So.
And stay very relaxed when they do it. That's the power of human given.
So there's lots of ways to do it.